Hello, we are live. Hey, Wyn.
Ben, how are you?
I'm
Actually,
good.
I actually seriously mean, how are you? Not the
It's
throwaway, how are you?
yeah,
I
just a
actually mean, how
standard
are you?
greeting. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
lot better, thank you. I'm
good.
two and a half weeks or something sick, and actually, as the intro music was playing, I was thinking this intro music right now feels like 75% more energy than I actually have. To be honest, it's a bit much. Calm down, intro music. But
I do love the intro music and the graphics. Did you do that or?
yeah, yeah, I used it on Canva. Yeah,
Ah,
I did it all on Canva. It was yeah, it was good fun
very
playing
cool.
around,
Right.
seeing.
I think data people have a bit of a hidden sort of frustrated artist thing in them. I find lots of people are quite artistic.
That is very true. I gotta say, that's a really good starting point, to be honest, mate. Just to go straight
For an
with
intro?
it. Yeah. I spoke about this with a couple of different people talking about that output of creativity that people who work with data. I mean, I'm not an artistic person because I mean, if you talk about skilled art, if you like someone like Kerry Kolosko, for example, she's like a very good artist, and I was being told that my artistic skills are worryingly childlike, which I won't disagree with. But it's yeah, I think it's like when it comes to creating something and maybe also visualization as well. There's something kind of like that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it is, but it's a very very good point.
yeah.
Um, should we? Do you want to introduce yourself before we get into it? Tell us who you
Sure.
are.
Sure. Yes. So I am Wyn. I am a director of a company in Perth, Western Australia.
All right.
We are a consulting and training firm, and we specialize in Power BI and Excel. So pretty much ex-accountants who were into the Excel stuff
Okay.
all got together and started just providing solutions to clients, financial models, that sort of crazy stuff. That was how I found the job.
Mm,
It wouldn't have been a Google search back in the day. It would have been Yahoo or something. I don't know,
yeah.
for sort of
Alta
financial
Vista.
modeling. Yeah, one of those things. Um, and just searching for stuff like that. And then basically clients just wanted lots of reporting. So we started becoming like the key reporting people. So that's what we
Interesting.
do. And then Power BI came along and it was just like, oh, even
Yeah.
better.
Changed the game.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then I play
S-
about on YouTube a bit and do a few other things.
You
So
do. You have some very cool stuff on YouTube, mate. You have two channels, right? You have one for your Power Query chats and another one just for your
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So
Managing
the
two
sort of
channels.
it's a lot to do, but I
Yeah.
enjoy it.
I
It's my hobby.
I was going to say to manage two YouTube channels must take an extraordinary amount of effort. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, the Power Query one's very much a once in a while when I feel like doing
Mm,
one. But the main one, the Access Analytic one, that's something I went
mm,
about 2 years ago. Went right, I'm going to do one a week,
yeah.
and I've tried to stick to it, but it's a lot of effort.
Yeah. The one a week thing is I've made that commitment so many times. I'm going to do one a week. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, an entire week passed and I did not even come close to achieving achieving that.
Yeah. You start to feel a bit guilty when you miss one as well, and it's sort of like you should be doing something else, and should be whatever it is, but you end up doing this little video, and it's just like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should try and do a couple at a time now and again just to give myself a little break, but
Mm.
I might try and do one for Christmas. Just build some up, build a couple up, save a couple.
Yeah. No, I always have this like, oh yeah, this week I'm going to do a couple, as you say, so you can kind of like, I'll save them and then I'll have one for next week. And somehow, I mean, the fact that I can't manage one a week, but sometimes I say I'm going to
Yeah,
do
true.
two this week should really tell me. Or like when my wife's away, oh, when my wife's away, I have more time. I can do loads. It's like I'm not going to do that. I'm going to
Yeah.
use that time and just kind of sit in the sofa and enjoy this bit of time where I can actually sit on the sofa, actually sit on the
Yeah,
sofa.
yeah, absolutely.
That's right. But so you started very much so on the accounting side, you said, yeah? You were
Yeah,
like an
so
accountant.
I was an auditor with Price Waterhouse back in the day, back in
No way.
Cardiff. Yeah. So that's
That's
where I started
interesting.
off. A thankless job, absolute thankless job being an auditor. So and then I'd done a year like an internship
Mm.
previously, and learned a bit of spreadsheet stuff, and I
Okay.
was then therefore the spreadsheet guy. at Price Waterhouse, because we were like, I think our office was the last Price Waterhouse office in the UK, no, in the world, to get laptop computers. So it was all pen and paper before then, mate, back in the day.
Amazing. I love
So
it.
yeah, so we had these little laptop computers in my last year, and but yeah, people were like, how do you use these? What do you do this stuff? And I'd had a year, so I had a 1 year advantage on everyone.
Nice.
And helping people, they gave you thanks, and that was rewarding. And that's the thing I wanted to do, not going and just sort of ticking and bashing and counting how many things somebody had and annoying them when they're trying to do their job, which is what auditors do.
Yeah.
So,
My dad was actually also an auditor. He worked for
okay,
Scottish and Newcastle breweries. And
right.
So did you say you were based in Cardiff, did you say before?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll come back to that in a second. I'm curious about that. And he always like came back with these like ridiculous stories, like of one of his colleagues who had been auditing. Because before he was an auditor, he was a stock taker, and then he went from stock taker to auditing. And they would go around like kitchens to the pubs and count the stock, of course, because they were stock taking.
Yeah.
He had a colleague, and he's told me this story a couple of times, and I've always enjoyed it. He's like, he was known to be a ridiculously meticulous stock taker. He would count everything.
Oh, okay. Right.
And he once on his stock taking report, he wrote down the kitchen had half a cucumber. And my dad was like, how do you know how big the cucumber was before they cut it? Was it half? Was it a quarter? Was it an eighth? It was just...
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So yes, auditor and stock take I've heard before.
No, I did a stock take where we were, when people plant little sapling trees and they put a little plastic case around the base of it to protect it.
Yeah, okay.
So sort of this sort of like just so it grows and doesn't get eaten by the little animals and stuff. So there's a company that makes those, obviously somewhere, and that company, a company that did it was just outside Cardiff. So I do a stock take, and they just opened the doors to this big warehouse, and these little tubes, they weren't in boxes, they were just all piled in a corner, like about 45,000 of them, just shut, and they went there. And I was just like, okay. So it's just a bit of, sort of algorithm type stuff of there's about 12 on the bottom, about 15 high. That sounds about right.
It's kind of like that
sort of stuff.
That game where you got to just guess how many jelly beans are in the jar.
Yeah.
And then you win a free meal or something.
That's what auditing for a top 4 tier company is all about.
Oh my God. Love it. Love it.
Brilliant.
Go back to the Cardiff thing. May I ask Cardiff which city you're in again? Perth, right?
I'm in Perth now. Yeah. So from Swansea originally, then Cardiff.
Okay.
And then Swansea, then Perth, back to Cardiff, back to Perth, back and forth. So yeah, I guess my distant cousin, we got like the same great grandfather, lives in Perth, and he came back in when I was about 24. He was about the same, 23, and he said, he met up. He said, if you get a chance, come and visit me in Perth. So I came to visit him, and it was just like his apartment. For people who know Perth, there's this beautiful beach called Cottesloe, and there's a couple of nice bars on this beach, and his apartment overlooked the bar, and it's just like, my God, this is just amazing. So I was working doing audit, counting plastic circles for trees. So I just quit, handed my notice in, and just moved to Perth. Lived here for a couple of years, lived in Sydney, and then got a bug for it. But went back to the UK for a few years, back to Cardiff for 4 or 5 years, and then eventually moved back here. That was to Perth, and that was 15 years ago now. So yeah, been here ages.
Nice, man. That's very cool.
But,
I can see the appeal of the location for sure.
You don't like the warm though, mate?
The weird thing is about the warm is that I've been in Australia for a year. And I find the warm. Well, I was based in Melbourne. I did like a bit of a tour, as you do. I found the warmth of Melbourne far more bearable. Sorry, the heat. So the heat of Melbourne more bearable than the heat of Berlin, because Berlin's ridiculously humid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was more like a dry heat from a desert that I got from Melbourne, and that for me was okay.
That is the big difference. So people freak out. Like next week it's 32, but that's fine. 32 in Wales, I'd be dying.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's a huge difference,
yeah,
really.
yeah. So no, it's a good old place to live. Pretty chilled out,
Yeah.
and things just tick along here quite nicely.
I
So
got a friend who lives in
yeah.
Fremantle, by the way. It's quite, I think,
Oh yeah, yeah,
close
yeah,
to,
yeah,
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 different cities.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, sorry, that's just me and my. I mean, when I say I was in Melbourne, I always forget it's like about like 12 years ago now. It's in my head, it was like a few months ago or something, and it
Yeah,
was
I'm the same.
a
I
long,
know.
long time ago. I'm going
Yeah.
to pull up a question about from Kurt. That's okay.
Good.
I think Kurt's currently getting a tattoo, so I appreciate him joining us. I'm not sure how he can get a tattoo and write on his phone. Don't make
There
the
we
guy
go.
slip, mate. What was it like writing your recent book about Power BI for the Excel analyst? How long did it take, and did you research it? And also, congratulations on its release.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so it was good fun to get started. Quickly became a complete pain, and by the end, it's just like, oh, I just want to get it done, So it took about 7 months, 6 months. It's based largely around the training course that I've been running for 4 or 5 years anyway.
Okay.
So I didn't really have to research much about it. And the course is sort of like for beginners, for Power BI essentials, all the basics of building stuff. And probably about 400 hours of effort over weekends and evenings. So yeah, took a
Wow.
fair while. And then the edit and everything else, and re-editing, and some, getting some feedback, and Ken Pulse was kind enough to review it and give me some feedback. And
Cool.
yeah,
Nice.
so it was a bit of a long process, and then I finished it in July, but then it took 4 months to sort of get published and
Okay.
printed and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, but a long old process, but good fun.
That's
Glad
impressive.
to have done it, proud of it, but it's
You should
took
be,
up a
for sure.
lot of time.
It seems like it's like a huge effort. So congratulations. It is a huge achievement.
Thank you
So
very
it's
much.
very
Cheers,
cool.
cheers. Yeah.
How did you get at all kicked or damaged by Power BI and its updates? I mean, do
Oh
you have
yeah.
with screenshots, etc.?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I remember Chris Webb warning me that screenshots will just be the bane of my life.
yeah.
So I'd pretty much finished 3/4 of the way through when the new formatting panel appeared down the side. So
Yeah.
it went from the old sort of paint roller type thing, and all that sort of stuff to the new. So all those screenshots, they had to get redone.
That's brutal.
So yeah, it's got a lifespan to it, but the core concepts are all going to
Of
be there for
course.
years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the teal comes out now, and some of the new slightly rounded icons and things, and all those little things.
Yeah.
You know,
The teal is an interesting thing because I have opinions on that, which I'm not sure because I've used Power BI probably like 4 times since the teal appeared because I was sick, of
right?
course.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I know that Microsoft are saying they did it because of accessibility issues, which of course no one's going to argue with.
yeah.
We applaud that. It's an important thing. However, I mean, my color blindness is very slight, and it's red and green. Okay,
Okay,
now
yeah,
I
yeah,
can tell you that it's much harder for me to see things now since they've changed that. And I
right.
wasn't going to post about it because I was like, is it just me? Because no one else has mentioned it. I find it, for example, if you click on a visualization, in it you get the little circle as to which table things are coming
Yeah, yeah,
from. It's
yeah,
really hard to see that now. Um, and I find it weird that you can do
yeah,
something in the name of accessibility, yet get something. It's not an uncommon color blindness. It's really common.
yeah. You're not the first person. I've seen a few people mention
Yeah,
it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure. So it,
strange choice.
yeah, I d- and whether the splash screen wasn't accessible,
Yeah,
apart from just getting in the way of all of us. We should just untick it down the bottom, but I leave it up there for training purposes.
yeah. It's a weird thing with the splash with the screen that you get to the start with because it's got all the things like get data, all the stuff that you need. I was in a training a couple of months ago, and someone went to click on the get data, and I went to stop them, and I was like, actually, no, you're right. Do click that get
Yeah,
data. But I'm so
yeah,
used to
done
get
the
rid of it
same.
and then going
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
else, you know?
I noticed yesterday or the day before the actual videos have gone, but maybe that, I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, the little tutorial
Yeah,
ones which are out of date and have been out of date for years.
yeah. The
So
screenshots, like the videos were quite old.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the little
but I know what they were trying to do was, like I say, was accessibility, which again I applaud. Always a good thing, but for me, it would have made more sense if you're going to do it. Yeah, do it in a way that users can actually just select how they want to see stuff. I mean, like for example, I remember one of the best changes I've ever seen through Microsoft was on. I was playing Xbox a few years ago, and I realized on certain games you could choose to see things in different colors based on whatever color blindness that you had.
oh,
So it
okay.
would adjust the colors. Like that would be awesome, you know. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's just something.
There is some Windows setting that you can toggle to do that
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
but
there is.
yeah, but yeah, I don't. If accessibility is the issue, then should the fact that your color scheme clashes with other Microsoft color schemes be a consideration, or is it just like, well, it's the
Hmm.
same color as, I don't know, Power Apps, or it's the same color as Excel, or whatever. Just if it helps people,
Hmm.
then fitting into some sort of color that isn't, I don't know, maybe just an
We'll
interesting one.
we'll see. Imran
Yeah.
also saying that they haven't changed the font color in the service, so some fonts have grey text against a green background.
Mm,
So again,
yeah, there's a
also,
few of those there spotting.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, but I saw. Is this true? Is it that you also now in the cloud you can cancel a refresh?
I did see that. Yeah,
Because that would be
currently
wonderful.
premium only, I think, was the chat, but coming to Pro when they can get the
Yeah,
architecture and the
yeah,
back end in line or whatever that. I know so much that I don't know about. There's so many things that I can't explain other than
yeah,
the 5 lines from Twitter that I see about things. I just
yeah.
go, yes, that is true.
Mm.
I don't know. So I read it on Twitter. So or Mastodon now, of course.
Right, exactly. Are you using both? You are, right? I think that.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sort of, I quite like the Mastodon experience. It's quite nice.
It's all right. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think people. I am so used to using Twitter, which is a really straightforward user
Yeah,
interface thing, like with one stream. But the fact that it's owned by a complete psychopath now really does take a little bit of the joy away from it,
yeah,
unfortunately.
it does. It does.
If every time I write a tweet, I'm like, "Is this enabling? Is that what this is? Is this
Yeah, yeah.
supporting?" But it's
Just try and shut my eyes when any ads come up, just so.
yeah. The funniest thing,
Or,
not the funniest thing, the most ridiculous thing that I've seen is he did this. He does polls, and he did this poll about should he let Trump back on back
oh
on
yeah,
back on Twitter.
yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, people voted and they voted to say yes, he should be back on Twitter. It's like, and he's like, the people have spoken. It's like that's not what the people have spoken is. That's people who follow you. I intentionally go out of my way to not see your tweets. You know,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really a democratic vote, mate.
No.
So it's a bit
Yeah,
strange on Twitter at the moment.
slight audience bias in that. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
and there's a few bots in there as well.
Yeah, one or two.
I don't. I wouldn't know. There was a little while back when my followers on Twitter suddenly went nuts. The numbers went ramping up, and
Okay.
that's got to be a whole bunch of bots. Just suddenly somebody had followed me and they all followed along for whatever reason. But yeah,
Yeah.
right. You don't know.
Every now and then, like I'll get the followers who assume Power BI guy is for a very 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 different sort of account. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you're not gonna get the content that you're looking for. I feel so bad for you, but
Nothing to see here.
yeah, exactly. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's where it goes. Anyway, mate, sorry, back to Power BI type stuff. And
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I often ramble, and I feel like I'm in a much more rambly mood due to the fact that my brain's at like 50% capacity, you know?
I like a good
Um,
ramble.
yeah. And the fact that I think I've opened Power BI like twice in the past like 3 weeks, like I say. I was off sick,
Yeah, yeah.
and then on Monday, so yeah, a couple of days ago, I was back at work, and then it was when I realized that I always like to take a lot of time off for Christmas because it's one of my favorite times of the year. So now I'm
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
I'm on vacation now until the end of the year.
Right.
So I had 2 days back at work and then I was on vacation. I felt really bad about it, and I was like, "Oh God, I can't believe this has happened." I felt like such an idiot. Like I'm a team stand-up. So what everyone's got plans the next couple of days. I'm like, well, doing what I can for 2 days and then going
Yeah, yeah.
on vacation.
Just deleting my emails and then
Yeah,
leaving.
yeah. Just essentially, I had time to change the reason of my out of office and then back off again.
Yeah, yeah. But the sort of the big people are hyping up the new DAX functions, but I was more excited about the new tile slicer option, which always annoyed me senseless. The
Oh, please
whole
explain. What's this?
so slicers. If you wanted to make them look like buttons, you could go
Yeah.
to settings horizontal.
Mm-hmm.
You have to click the little drop down, make sure it's a list, go over to the settings, click on the drop down from vertical,
Yeah.
change it to horizontal, which made no sense at all.
No.
And now you just go settings horizontal. Oh, sorry, settings tile or
Ah,
settings list or settings drop down. It's just easy. It should
that's
have been like
nice.
that from the start. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm loving that. Little things like that that just annoyed me over the years. That I
Also,
love the
all the
product.
slicer settings are actually in the formatting X section now, rather than actually
Yeah,
in this little arrow that no one can ever find.
yeah.
Yeah.
That tiny one just says nothing to see here. Go over there. There's a warning, which is nice. They haven't just removed
Yeah.
it, so that's good. That's a
Oh,
nice
okay.
touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you do find that little arrow that never used to show up if your slicer was slightly too thin as well, so it used to disappear totally. Yeah, those sorts of things. Yeah, it's great. So
Oh,
I'm happy
that's
with
quite
that.
cool. And new
Much,
DAX window functions or something. I saw. I don't know
yeah,
what that
offset
means.
and index. You
Ah,
can do
okay.
sort of like groups. Like Windows doesn't mean anything. Window doesn't mean anything to me because I'm not from a SQL background.
Yeah.
I think the SQL people go, oh, great. I've been waiting for something like that. And I'm like, so what is it? But yeah, it's sort of like having ranges of, you can sort of do rolling averages and things, I think, with it. But I started to play a little bit with offset today for the first time. I was like, oh, okay. But I've never had a use case for it. But I may do in the future. So we'll see.
Okay. I think but Offset was already there though, right? Didn't they release Offset a couple of months ago?
It was there, but there was not officially, and there was no IntelliSense.
Ah, right. Of course, right. Exactly. Yeah, that's quite
So
cool. I
that's
enjoyed
coming.
Offset. It was nice for
So
like just an easy way of showing like previous week or something, just to kind of just get this offset across.
yeah, but there's some crazy settings as well. You have to put in some all selected stuff to clear the filter content. It just sounds like, okay, it looks simple on the
Mm,
surface, but you still
mm.
need to know a bit of DAX, understand some of the stuff to understand you sort of write a summarize function or something sometimes to get the right little table you need to
Yeah.
iterate through. So, geez.
As soon as you have to know anything about DAX, I'm out. I'm like, okay, I'm screwed now. So,
Yeah, I know.
with the work that you do you find yourself? I mean, more often in Excel or Power BI, or is it split? Because I know you're an expert of both, basically.
These days more Power BI.
Okay.
Recently, just more training, but
Okay.
still, colleagues of mine are doing lots of client work, building reports for clients, and I've been doing a few. And yeah, it's we're dealing with the business. We getting with the business, not with the IT team or the business users who haven't got access to anything, haven't got time to get access to everything. So we're going in there trying to build them as robust a report as possible, until they can then sort of upgrade it to the enterprise level type reporting when the IT teams, if they've got an IT team, get a chance. But we're dealing with big companies, sort of really large companies, but the department IT just can't do everything for everybody.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
So the business is then using these self-service BI tools, but those that get training, great, but most people don't have time to have training, and then they struggle, and then they build it badly, and then it doesn't work. So that's the sort of thing we help with.
Nice. Which of your because obviously you had quite a developed skill set within Excel before you were using Power BI because you used it for a long time. I mean, other than Power Query, of course, what other key skills that you thought wouldn't transfer across but actually have from Excel to Power BI, like things that that actually help.
I think it's more a case of it's a very similar process, just in terms of gathering requirements. What does the user need? They don't know, so they can't. They don't know until they see it. So Excel was so good. It was just like quick, iterative proof of concept. mock something up. Is this what you're talking about? No. And same thing with Power BI now. So, and then you can start building on that and fleshing it out, because the old systems of, let's take 8 months to build something that the business needs, it never worked. It just took too long and wasn't either what was needed originally or wasn't needed by the time it was done.
Yeah.
So it's just been a natural progression for us, really.
Okay.
The data modeling stuff, was already in Excel. The Power Query stuff, we were doing stuff with Microsoft Query before that, that sort of could just suck data in from an Access database or from using ODBC connectors. Yes. So doing all that sort of stuff was same sort of concept. Yeah, so it's just a natural progression for us, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. ODBC connectors, I haven't thought about those in a long time. I think I used to get errors for that when I was connecting to Access back in the day. Your update ODBC, or I don't have the correct OD. I was like, what?
Yeah, you do not have the correct one installed, because you had to install them on individual computers and stuff. And then somebody would get a new computer and everything would break, and fun games.
My first big Power BI projects were all on the using Access. I was working for quite a large company, and they built their entire database on Access. It was great fun, because I got to learn multiple things. Like I became quite close to the colleague who was based in a different city, and realizing that the database was really, really close to just dying, because every month we had to go through and delete old data so that the new data could actually go in without it all like crashing.
Okay.
And it was one of the classic situations where it was built very well by someone many years ago, and it had been passed down. So the amount of knowledge that was lost, and it had really outgrown its intended use, it's a classic situation, right?
Yeah, I think there's still a huge amount of that around. Get people on replying to YouTube posts and stuff going, I don't seem to have that feature. And I reply, what version are you using? And it's like Excel 2007 or something like this, and it's just, what can you do? Oh, can you bring up, is it NIS? NIS is
I saw that too,
007?
Yeah.
So
Miss
that one.
Some of the DAX functions in Excel, Power Pivot,
So a couple of weeks ago, they've added all the functions from Power BI into Excel. So everything's in the new release. So that's in the beta channel currently, and will slowly roll out into all the other channels of Excel. So coming soon.
So there was actually
variable, all those things.
Quite a lot of stuff that was missing from DAX.
Yeah, like selected value, and some of the nice ones like that, because you used to have to use has one value, and a few of those. So
table
a whole bunch of
as
them.
well, apparently.
Yeah. Although you still can't actually create a table in Excel in the data model. So but within a measure, if you're just doing a temporary table within a measure, then
How widely used is Power Pivot now?
Still pretty widely used. From our point of view, we're just engaging with clients now who are going into Power BI from it. But no, it's still still broadly used. But I think Power BI has just eaten into probably the vast majority of people who would have been doing it in Excel otherwise, I would say.
Does it still have that what I would describe as questionable user interface? It was very I found it quite difficult to use.
Nah, they did improve it a lot for a couple of years in Excel 2019, I think, and then they just sort of stopped.
Right.
So hopefully it sort of comes back in line with Power BI eventually, but I think that's a long way off.
I would when I say things like I found like Power Pivot difficult to use and stuff because of the user interface. I think it's because basically my first Power whatever was Query, which is very easy to use, and then Power BI, which is designed to be, people would argue with this, but very user friendly. But it certainly has a very drag drop interface. That works quite well. Yes, exactly. So Power Query, of course, and Power View, and then Power Pivot becomes Power BI. But it was the only power thing that I really have really not used is Power Pivot.
Yeah, right. I started with Power Query as well. Really, that
Yeah.
was my first sort of journey into it. And then a few people had been mentioning Power Pivot to me, and I was just like, oh, okay, I'll have a look at that. And yeah, it sort of was like, oh, right, this is pretty cool. And then I got Rob Colley's book and read that like everybody else at the time, and sort of learned about that stuff. And it was just, oh, right, this is great, and just took off from there really. And it's a bit of a coincidence because one of our major clients had just stopped using contractors across the board. They were going through a bit of a downturn. So no more contractors. So they were one of our biggest clients at the time. So suddenly we had nothing much to do for a month or two. And this thing called, I'll give this Power Pivot a look, see how, if that's any good. And yeah, just learned about that, and it just took off really. And we just, steered towards that. And then when Power BI came along, it was just, oh, brilliant. No, more opportunity, more opportunity for people, companies not investing in their staff. And that'll be the next thing, is that Power BI will come so prevalent that it'll just be assumed knowledge, just like Excel is. And that's when all the fun and games begin.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of watch that happen. I mean, it's like slow progression, of course, but I think there'll be some point where it's just kind of like it'll be a, what's it called, like a hockey stick or whatever.
Yeah.
There'll be
But
something.
it's starting to ship with Office now.
Yeah.
So I'm still not 100% clear on what the updates will be when you're on Office, whether Power BI updates independently of Office, because Office relies on IT clicking the refresh button and giving people permission to update. So I'm just not sure whether Power BI Desktop, if it's getting installed with Office, will update on a different cycle. Otherwise, you're going to have that version issue again.
It would kind of have to, for the number of the updates that you have to do.
You would hope so.
Yeah, because I mean,
but Excel's getting updates every month now, and I still see people on paying subscription, so paying for Office 365 and not updating ever. So like they've got a 3-year-old version of, a product that they're paying monthly for.
Yeah, but it's a strange thing about Excel knowledge, because I mean, obviously, a lot more about me. Sorry, 1 second. I'll try that again. My brain, I swear to God. You know a lot more than me about Excel and about what I'm about to say as well. However, I think there's a lot just of assumed knowledge of Excel, in the fact that people assume they know enough about Excel. If you can do like 3 things, people are like, yeah, that's Excel. I can do a VLOOKUP. I can do a whatever. And so people just don't bother to update. They don't bother to explore. And maybe it'll happen with Power BI, as what you said before, when you're talking about, there'll be an assumed knowledge of people assume that they know Power BI, or people assume that people do know Power BI. I used to think that I knew Excel, but then I realized, no, I don't, like at all.
Yeah. And it's levels. I was the Excel go-to guy when I was working in the banks and stuff in the UK. And then I started with this Excel consulting firm who are professional Excel developers. And I suddenly realized I knew 20%. I thought I knew 80, and then over 15 years, I now know about 65.
Yeah, that's so good.
And the more you know, the more it just opens up. So people know what they know, and they're confident in that. They're confident in what they know. And it's only if they see somebody doing something they don't know that they think, oh, well, maybe I'm not an expert. But then when you see how much there is, it's just nuts. But even Power BI, though, people are not using it right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's the same with Excel. It's just like you can build a mess quite quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think you can. Well, was it people still use Excel like it was 2003 from George, which is completely accurate. I think it's. I could be wrong. It's probably easier to quickly create more of a mess with Power BI than it is Excel, because of maybe the data modeling element, and also. Go on. You disagree, it's fine. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I think it's easier to make a mess without realizing it, maybe.
Okay.
But with you've got Power BI forces you to be at least a little bit disciplined in order to get anything. You have to at least have an organized table at least one.
Mm.
Whereas Excel can just be keyed in anywhere. You can
That's
type something in
true.
halfway
Yeah,
down a row, just because this month end you need the number to balance and you haven't got time to go and investigate why it's out by $5. But then
that's
that
fair.
gets left there and dragged across for the next 5 years. And yeah, there's just it's easy to make accidental mistakes, and it's
Mm.
so flexible that people just stuff it up
Yeah.
quite easily. And there's no
Nice.
training. And the thing about the 2003 thing is that that's when I think most senior management learned Excel in that year, let's say 97 to year
Mm.
2010.
Mm.
Okay, those people are in senior management positions. Nothing changed in Excel in that 10, 15-year period. And they don't realize that it's a dramatically different tool now, and they don't think people need training in it. So,
Yeah.
there's no expectation. It's like employing somebody in a factory and going, you used a electric saw before? Yeah. Okay, off you go. So like same with office workers, they're not given, it's just assumed that they know it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Also, the seeing quite often that you have like quite a complex calculation, which is supposed to be dynamic, and then you find there's like one point somewhere it's just that should have been updated, or you drag across and it kind of changes the number, but not in the way you want.
Yeah, yeah,
All these sort of like
yeah, yeah,
simple things that are easy to overlook. You're right, actually,
yeah,
because
yeah.
there's so much potential for manual input, and the manual input is usually where the devil
Yes,
lives.
that is, yes. It allows you to do stuff quickly
Yeah.
and override things and just type in wherever you want, and
Hmm.
which is glorious, but also horrendous.
I only recently stopped doing terrible things because I never even occurred to me that it was terrible. I mean, I only really do this when I'm creating just like something small for myself, but like merging cells. Saw someone post like a few months ago, never ever merge cells,
Oh yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Now I never thought about that. I would just like
yeah, yeah,
it's something that I would do just to kind of make it like to format it in a nicer, clearer
yeah,
way.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah.
I'm probably
It's
I would probably be blacklisted from Excel, to be honest.
I'm interested in Bernard's question about this is my customer, or his comment, not question.
I
What's that
think
in
it's when
reference
we're
to?
talking about. Actually, I can't remember. It came up when we're talking about
Oh,
how people were using Excel. I think, and knowing
oh,
about
okay,
Excel and only having like knowledge of
right.
like
Yeah,
four.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. 4 elements.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I try my best not to repeat myself, but I will say it one more time. Is the
Oh,
Sorry, yeah, okay.
oh no, he's talking about the old version of
Version
Excel
stuff.
365. Yeah,
Okay.
just not updating ever.
Yeah.
And I am concerned that that's the way Power BI is going to go. I've got my worries.
It would be really. I mean, to create something whereby it actually restricts the customer, the users from updating something that they know they're going to update every month seems to be like very. It would be.
I do training with companies all the time where the IT won't update their Power BI desktop. So the Power
Yeah.
BI desktop is like 6 months out of date.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to use the store, that's turned off, and they have to use a version that's 6 months old or whatever.
Mm. No, I
It's
mean,
just
I had that at a company. We had this thing. We had like the IT company was based, or the IT part of the company was based in a different city, and every single update would have to go through them. They'd have to check it first, make sure it was okay. So we were consistently 6 months behind on all
right.
updates,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was so frustrating to read all the blogs. And
Yes.
of course,
Yeah, yeah.
I've always had it on my own personal device, Power BI desktop, because it's what I was training myself, and of course still am. Um, but I could do something. I knew how to do it. I could use that functionality, but I knew that I couldn't apply that same thing to the project that I was currently working on. It was really frustrating. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, my bet that no check actually takes place. I completely agree with that. Because what they're checking for, I mean, really,
Yeah. Their one report still works that they're checking, or
like Microsoft didn't put some kind of like Trojan horse or whatever or random.
oh
It's
yeah, some sort of security thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, some
yeah.
companies are like I understand it was a big company and stuff, but I think sometimes I know I'm probably too lax on that. I mean, obviously, I always make sure I adhere to the safety protocols of whatever company that I'm working for. But at the same
Yeah,
time, I think companies are quite often think other companies care more about the data than they actually do. It's like, I don't
yeah,
think they care about, my little account of my. It's just it's a lot. So
yeah, yeah. I always feel a bit sorry for people who are still working on, and working with the on-prem, Power BI server, report server,
yeah,
whatever it's called,
yeah.
because they miss out on all the goodies too, and they have to wait that sort of 6 month period. And data flow, they haven't got data flows and things like this, and it's just like, oh,
I forgot that
you know,
even still existed.
yeah. I was training a couple of people last week, and they're still using it. So
Wow.
yeah,
Is there a reason? Is it a
it's
cost thing or?
no. Well, I think originally just security,
Mm,
just a wariness about going cloud based for stuff. But
mm,
yeah, so and then then it is a cost thing because you built everything here, and then you've got to. I don't know what the upgrade
mm.
process is like to go from on-prem to the full cloud one, whether it's seamless or if there's a button you can click. I don't know, but or do you have to rebuild everything? I'm really not sure. I've never actually looked into it.
No. It was one of those things I'd forgot that it existed completely.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I heard someone talking about it again a few months ago, and I had to remind myself as to what was like. What's going on here? What's all right? Yeah, exactly. This was something
yeah,
from kind of I just left my as I was learning other stuff, the stuff that I'd never ever used. Kind of that just drops out
yes,
somewhere. I leave it along the way,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
totally. So what in your inbox? Have you got a really want to read folder, or a little, or do you use some sort of you know monitoring software that you can click, to add your articles to that you'd like to read? Because
No,
mine's just ridiculous
I
now.
use on Twitter. I used to use like either I should use the bookmark thing, but I don't. I use likes. Then let's go
Right.
back through all my likes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Um, if a topic is coming up more frequently within my feed, then okay, so this, but not really. I tend to just follow the updates that come each month, and then yeah, just I kind of like see what's kind of catching my eye and going that way because
yeah, yeah,
there are more intelligent ways of doing it, but I got to the point where I felt like I was putting too much pressure on myself, because if
yeah,
I did it for all the things, oh, that sounds interesting, it would just be like this nonstop. Recently I was trying to. I mean, I stopped because I was sick, of course, but I was really wanting to get into learn about like Databricks, to be honest,
oh, okay,
because it's something that I feel is kind of like passed me by a little bit too much, and I wasn't really sure as to precisely, how it would fit in what I do into my Power BI world.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's like my current mini project, Databricks.
I think you seem to have sort of the right idea. I think the way you've gone into like something like Deneb, and you've just gone
Yeah.
right. I see some benefit. I'm just going to go into that and start playing and delving into that.
Mm,
Whereas I get a bit distracted too much, and I
mm.
go into little bits of everything, and I should go pick my battles a little bit more. I think
Not really. I think
would
it.
be.
I mean, I think it's both work. I mean,
Uh,
I went into to Deneb in a big way because I'd never really focused so much on learning about visualization. I think I got too focused on Deneb, but I did it. I think I did it for good reason because I kind of wanted to kind of build up my knowledge to a certain level where I could
yeah,
produce
yeah,
good stuff with it. I think
yeah,
I'm going to stop doing that. I'll slowly ease out of it because I've seen it just become much, much more like mainstream, like in a good way, of course. Much
yeah,
more people
yeah.
are using it,
No, absolutely.
and so I think I want to kind of go into something else, and I don't want to make.
Yeah,
I also made my Power BI channel far too like focused on one thing, and I realized like I think my past like 15 videos were just like. I was like, okay, let's try to calm down a bit now.
yeah, yeah.
But no, it's
That's
nice to it's nice to also like to be broad about it as well. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, because the benefit of that for me is like, I mean, I think that in the job that we do, it tends to be very much you kind of you learn stuff when you need to learn it. Otherwise, when it comes up. But if you do what you do, you're aware of many different things, so you can say, I'm sure I
yeah,
read about that somewhere. I did about this. Where for me, I miss probably too much. I don't know. There's no right and wrong. It's just how it goes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
One second, I'm going to bring this by you, Mark. I think it's talking about the Power BI service. The Power BI service is secure, isn't it? I had a client who was totally against storing anything in data flows or even publishing data sets because of security worries. I mean,
If your email's in the cloud, then you're in trouble anyway. You've got an
yeah.
Exchange server, just emailing Excel files around, do they block that? Somebody said that on, where was that the other day? They weren't allowed to, I was on Reddit, I think.
Okay.
They weren't allowed to have Power BI desktop. They built a data flow and they wanted to connect the data flow to create a report, but they weren't allowed Power BI desktop. And I was just like, how does that work? How does
That
anyone
makes
build a
no
report?
sense. It's like, but that's amazing. You're saying you can't have Excel, surely.
Yeah, and that would have been my follow-up question. Would have been, but are you allowed Excel? And can you connect? You know, because you can connect to data flows with Excel now as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just some weird policies in some places.
That's really strange. I maintain it's because it's new and people. It's not even new, but it's newer. You know.
Yeah,
And people just. I think going back to something what you said before about there are certain things that are just kind of ever present in our lives as people who work, you know, business, and Excel is one of them because it's been there. I mean, since, you know, how many years now? Just
30
yeah,
something.
very many.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, I didn't hit mute in time.
But no,
And
I'm still, I'm still learning Excel. People come on courses I run, and I'm seeing, and that's not just the new features, which obviously I've got to learn those, but the old stuff's been around for 10 years. And I'm like, well, how long's that been there? And it'll be the same with Power BI. It'll just be, it's never ending.
but there's a natural, no, I mean, yeah, there's a natural mistrust of newer, right? There's like, this new thing. What's that going to do? This could be dangerous and terrible. I do think it's a bit worrying that if someone says you can't have a Power BI because of Power BI desktop because of whatever security issues, because that shows to me like they haven't even tried to understand or read before making a decision.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, we'll have to investigate that and get back to you, but to say you can't have Power BI desktop is quite strange.
Very, very weird.
Oi.
But I guess eventually, maybe, I don't know when, but a year, 2 years, we won't need it. We'll be building models in the cloud. Everything will be building our DAX.
Yeah.
That's the promise. So
everything
in the browser.
I've read on multiple occasions that they're not trying to move away. That they're not moving away from Power BI desktop, but I don't believe that to be honest.
It won't be in a rush, but
no, but it's a natural progression.
It just seems that is the way things are going to go. So yeah,
which will be much better if you're working in groups. If you're like creating reports, not as an individual, because that is the thing, right? I mean, it's when you talk about versioning as well, for example.
Big topic.
I mean, come on.
I've never got my head around how anybody can work in a team on a Power BI report. I just don't get it because I've never done it. So I just don't have the conceptual, because when I'm building a Power BI report, I'm doing it start to finish. And every decision I make here, I know the knock-on effect, or I need to go back here because I'm making a change here. And that's all happening instantly in my brain. Whereas having to chat to someone who was building the model versus someone who was building the visual, I don't get how it works.
No, I've tried. I mean, I've been on maybe 2 projects ever when that's been the goal, and it never worked.
Right.
It was always. I mean, maybe that's something about me. I'm not sure, but it's very, very difficult to do, and it goes for me. It goes against how Power BI desktop exists. How it's
and my niche is the end-to-end business user case. I am not building billion row tables in a data model, so I can see the fact that there might be people doing the data modeling part, and then they hand it off to the people doing the visualization thin end, of it. So that sort of makes sense. But having a whole team on a report is it's alien to me. But I can sort of see where it might come in. But yeah, I don't see how it works though. Sounds hard.
Yeah,
I prefer doing it all. Much easier.
I've got a question about Mark. We have a report that has to be like that because of the API call that is being made. In reference to what that has to be made?
Oh, is that you can't have desktop? Is that the question?
I'm not sure.
It has to be done via the browser. But you
Or
could potentially.
is you referring to Imran's quote about using only sharing a PBIX file? I'm curious. I'm curious as to
Oh,
what restriction the API call that is being made is due to creation
we
of the
need
report.
a thread in the chat.
Yeah, we do need a thread in the chat. I'll get in touch with Restream to kind of
Give them some
improve
feedback.
that. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
restreamideas.com,
Yeah,
apparently.
I'm focusing on
Great.
that because I want working with APIs is one of my favorite things. Maybe he is referring to basically to Power BI Desktop, as in it has to be
Sure.
done in the cloud for that reason. Um, yeah, and I'm just trying
Yeah.
to see if he's going to come back with giving more information, but it's not happening thus far. So, so
I
there you go.
did a few years back, I did come across somebody who was paying for Power BI Pro and then emailing the Power BI files to everybody. They just misread.
Mm,
So,
yeah,
it can be confusing.
it can. It can. One of my least favorite conversations or questions is when people are asking like how they can get around the license fee. That
Yeah.
really frustrates me. I've got to say, because it's like
Yeah.
it's so cheap. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
it is. I don't.
It is. Yeah.
Doesn't matter how small your business is. I've got to say the license structure is pretty solid. I've got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it's just like there's a entire, you know, tabular engine going on in the background of this thing with all this,
Exactly.
just got so much power in there. And if you don't want to pay for it, then just use Excel, which you're paying for anyway. So,
Yeah.
you can do virtually everything. You just don't have the nice interactive buttons and the proper security layers. But,
Absolutely.
it's not as nice and it's not as controlled and all this sort of stuff. But if you don't want to pay for it, then yeah, don't use it.
Got Mark's. He's coming back with more information. It's particular to the UK HMRC tax query API. Each account registered with HMRC has to be queried individually. I'm thinking parameters, but it works at the moment. The worst thing, we have premium and not even PPU. I've got so many. This is.
You've confused us, Mark.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
What
fine.
comment in reference to, though?
Yeah,
Which bit?
yeah, it's fine.
Which
I'm
bit?
gonna. I won't get too hung up on it. But I do enjoy a good API discussion and API trying to whatever work with or fix APIs, because it's one of the most challenging things, because when you're working with it in Power Query, Power BI, whatever, there's no good native connector,
Yeah.
so you have to
Yeah. Yeah.
build your own custom whatever. I can't think of words today. You have to create your own connector, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are so many different ways you can do it, and there are so many different problems that you'll encounter with each individual API. It's such good fun, and it's challenging, but that moment when you realize that you've defeated the API, and when I say
It's a
defeat, I
battle.
mean like made it work. It's yeah. All right, here we go. It can't be published into the service because you can't add the account number you want to query. Ooh.
Okay. So you have to build the account number into the API, and you can't change that in the service. So if you published it, you'd have to publish a
Mm,
new unique copy of the report every time, I guess. You can't toggle between them.
interesting.
There we go.
There you go. Indeed. I like it. Thank you for posting that, Mark. You've got us both really sitting here thinking about that.
Yeah.
Trying to say, can I come up with ways? Is there a better way of doing that? Let's find out. But now, okay, fair enough. So I trust your deep knowledge. I'm sure you're doing it exactly the right way.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh, yeah. Sorry, I know it's been over the 45 minutes that I do always promise, but
No
it's
worries.
that's a combination of your sharing your fantastic knowledge and me random talking about random things and
You got 3 weeks worth saved up. You've got.
tell me about it. The thing is, you think that would be true given the fact that I haven't done one of these for 3 weeks, but I just had actually, I tell you what, I had so little energy the past few weeks that, do you know when, I'm not sure if you do this as well, but I mean, it takes, I don't get sick very often, and this completely knocked me out. I had like zero energy. I was looking at my Twitter, my Power BI Twitter, and I was like, I think I hate my Power BI Twitter. I think I hate my Power BI channel. I think I'm gonna just delete it all because I just can't anymore. I
Just
had
too
that.
much effort.
Yeah, that it was that energy just to even to look at
Yeah.
something that
Okay.
made me think of effort, made me made me hate it.
Right. Yeah. 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 No, you
Um,
definitely need to go and have a
yeah.
yeah, have a sit down then.
So I feel like I'm more, instead of like having all this energy pent up, I'm just kind of I'm ramping back up to the energy that I need to actually have.
Just in time for
Um,
Christmas. Beautiful.
exactly. My
The
wife said to
important
me that
thing.
she's like, "Oh, you should have this Christmas. Should have like a really alcoholic Christmas." And I was like, "I can't even think about alcohol right now." But yes, I'm sure we will. Don't worry. We
Yeah.
can get that.
Excellent.
Um, yeah. So the first time I left the house in a while was yesterday, and I went straight across and I ordered the turkey and I bought the tree, and I was like, "Have I left it too late for the turkey? That would suck." But no, I hadn't, so it's all good. Turkey ordered,
Yeah.
and then yeah, and
Well,
today I'm going to
I'm
go
heading back
Christmas
to the
shopping.
UK for this Christmas, so
Oh, really
we're
nice.
back into the turkey world.
Very cool.
Australians don't have, it's too hot for the turkey, so it's all
That is
it's
very
all
true.
other the old cooked ham is quite a big deal.
In Australia,
Full, yeah, the cooked ham for the supermarkets are just covered with them. You can't really buy a turkey in the supermarket. Well, you probably can, but not really.
famously.
Um, ham and fish.
Yeah,
That's the big thing.
I spent one Christmas in Australia, and it really was quite funny to me. Um, because there was quite, I mean, for me, it seemed quite stereotypical. They did actually have an actual grill, which is what,
Yeah,
but also it was the amount of shops. I was walking down the street, and there was all these, because it's Christmas, Yeah, exactly. Aussie barbecue
Aussie barbecue.
Christmas, and there were
Yeah,
actual like prawns, shrimp, whatever you call it. Now it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like, did he do it just for me for the stereotype? It's like, no, we do actually do that. But you're walking down the high streets and they have all the Christmas decorations up, and it's like
Yeah.
Santa going down chimney, and the chimneys are like covered in snow. And I'm like, do you know where you live? Like,
It is
how?
very weird.
It's
It is
really
very weird.
strange.
But it is novel, as an expat or whatever over here, it is novel to go down the beach with a glass of champagne Christmas Day morning, and just sit there with your Santa hat on and
Yeah.
catch up with some friends and stuff, rather than have that sort of rip the presents open as a kid or whatever, the kids,
Mm.
and then just veg out and watch TV for the whole day, which is
Yeah.
the other thing that happened. There's nothing good on TV in Australia on Christmas Day. That is the
Really?
difference
That's
between the
interesting.
countries, okay? Because people go outside on Christmas Day and do stuff because the weather's beautiful, but there's nothing on the telly. I was
That's a good point.
devastated when I first got here.
No,
Looking forward to the Christmas, specials and all
yeah,
the
because it's no
movies
good
and
Christmas specials. That's what it's all about, right?
nah,
Mince pies and Christmas
nothing.
specials.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
not absolute nothing on the
But
telly.
it's a good point though, because I when I was there, I remember it was more for New Year's than Christmas. We went to this big park in Melbourne city centre, like bottles of champagne and stuff, sitting outside. I'm like, hang on a second, it's New Year's Eve. I've got like shorts and t-shirt on.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like midnight, and it was very enjoyable, because it was like not like or outside, but I have to do something to stay warm or something. It was just like a
yeah,
very
yeah,
very social occasion. So of course it's but yes, also
yeah.
that he's right. The cricket is on.
Yes,
That's a good
yes.
point.
Boxing Day Test cricket and stuff as well is always good. But I did head to Germany a few years ago, about
Okay.
4 years ago, for
Mhm.
Christmas markets and stuff, which were awesome.
Okay. They
So I
are
love that stuff.
the Chris. I mean, they're great. I have to say, I'm at the point now with Christmas markets, probably only in Berlin, because it's where I live, that I've stopped enjoying them. But that's only because I've lived here since 2004 ish, on and off. And the thing is, once you've been to them, they never, ever, ever, ever change. Like, to the
Right,
point where I can tell you now which store is going to be in which location at which Christmas market across the city, because
right,
this,
okay.
and it gets a little bit repetitive.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
love to go out, and you have the glue vine, and you have like whatever, some of these, like there's nuts covered in sugar, which is always good, right?
yeah, yeah,
But I kind of miss the enthusiasm for them that I used to have. But it's just
yeah,
the way it goes. It's the way it goes.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Christmas. We're getting a new dog, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
so we have a little dactyl right now, a little dachshund, you know. And
Oh
my
yeah,
wife,
yeah.
she wanted a second dog, but I said, look, if you're gonna get a second dog, I don't want another small dog because I kind of prefer bigger dogs, you know.
Okay.
Um, so we got a Bernese Mountain Dog, which are pretty big, hairy things. I'm not sure if you know them. They're kind of pretty pretty large
Right.
animals.
Okay.
So that's where we pick up the new dog on New Year's Eve. So that's something to look forward
There
to.
you go. Exciting.
Yeah, should be good fun. Anyway,
Very
man.
good.
Anyway, so you
Very
said
good.
anyway, so you said you're flying across to the UK for Christmas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic to see all the
So
family and whatnot.
indeed, it's been a long time since. So yeah, COVID stopped them coming. So
Right.
we got pretty locked down pretty hard in Western Australia, especially.
Mm,
Weren't allowed to leave for a good year or two. So yeah,
crazy.
opened up again and heading
Nice.
back. So yeah, it'll be brilliant. So really looking forward to
Fantastic.
it.
Then enjoy, mate. Have a wonderful December and Christmas time
Will
and
do. Will do.
N-
And yourself. And
New Year and all that sort of thing. And it was absolute pleasure chatting to you, mate.
thank
Sorry
you.
for the many cancellations. I think was it two cancellations or just one? It seems like there's more than
What
one. It was
do you want to actually me to shame you on air with the
please
date you
do,
first got in touch with me?
please do it, do it.
December the 8th, 2021. Okay. That was when you first raised the idea of, I'm trying to do this sort of
Oh
YouTube
my
channel thing. Do you want to?
god,
So yeah, just a year. That's all right.
yeah.
That's fine.
Oh
We're
my god.
good.
I feel like I owe so many people so many apologies for my planning. I've got to slowly go. I think it was because the first time I was like the timing wasn't working, because obviously our very different time zones, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah.
just got more and more flexible with timing at the end. But I think the last mistake I made with you was that I scheduled this chat when I was doing a live session for the Budapest. There was like a Budapest BI show or something,
Okay.
and I was presenting something about Deneb. And I'm so
Right.
used to my days being like free for that sort of thing that I was like, I made a terrible mistake, and then I cancelled you, and
That's
then
all
I cancelled two other people. I'm just a very rude person. What are you going to do,
right. Yeah, yeah. And yet we're still here chatting to you. So you've got to be doing something right.
Exactly, mate. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the
Pleasure.
year, and
Yeah.
I shall speak to you
Thanks to
soon.
everybody for the chat as well. And all good.
Exactly. Questions and comments, and Mark for sharing all your API information. I really appreciate it. And I might be back next week. If not, I'll be back in the new year with more live chats. Okie dokie. And thank you. Bye
Merry
bye.
Christmas all.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Don't you wanna